A survey by research company Ipsos shows 6 out of 10 people polled will support the ANC in next year's general election. Domestic abuse in the spotlight as Power FM's Given Mkari and his wife appear in court on assault charges, those charges later withdrawn. This is E! News at 8. I'm Sally Burdett. Good evening. To our top story, and in spite of an uncertain road ahead, the ANC remains the top choice for South African voters ahead of next year's general election. An Ipsos Pulse of the People study, which shows the ANC holding 60% support among a randomly selected sample of over 3,000 South Africans, has been released. Now, the two next biggest parties, the DA and the EFF, polled 13% and 7% respectively. But don't think the road to 2019 will be plain sailing for President Cyril Ramaphosa and the governing party. Nicholas Bauer takes a closer look.
Despite political turmoil, factional fighting and policy disagreements within the ANC, 6 of every 10 South African voters still want the party in power. The Ipsos Pulse of the People poll has the governing party at a whopping 47% ahead of its nearest challenger, with the DA and EFF trailing significantly.
The ANC is recovering to a certain extent, because last year this time when we released the same type of data, the ANC was at 45% of the vote.
Analysts believe the so-called new dawn following former President Jacob Zuma's resignation has pushed the ANC in the right direction. And it seems that most South Africans think President Cyril Ramaphosa's administration has been doing the right things so far.
When we should all be working together.
He's been able to make good decisions. The parastatals are changing. He has good ministers in strategic, important ministries who are changing around certain things.
And while the ANC may be in the lead, the same poll illustrates voters are unsure about the party's future. Over half of respondents indicate shaky leadership remains a concern. In addition to lagging nationally, they're also far behind in the provinces. The EFF only scores above 10% support in Limpopo, and the ANC seems to be closing in on the DA in the long-time blue stronghold of the Western Cape.
They're not doing so well. The DA currently stands at only 13%, and the big loss of support for the DA was in the Western Cape.
But polls are only a prediction of what might happen. And much will change as South Africa prepares to vote in an election likely to take place in mid-2019.
Well, let's take a closer look at this now by reporter Aldrin Sampier. Aldrin, thanks so much for coming in this evening. It's so interesting. It does show the ANC is recovering. As Ipsos says, this time a year ago they were polling only 45%. So that seems to suggest the Ramaphosa effect. But equally, it also indicates that there's some very shaky ground to deal with. If you look at the potential problems around provinces and branches, specifically Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, how badly do you think that could derail the ANC ahead of the elections, or not?
Well, this is certainly important, and we should take our cue from Nicholas Bauer saying that this is an indication of what might happen. It's not certainty that this will happen. And this will all be based on whether Cyril Ramaphosa will be able to rally all his troops within the ANC around this vision of Tumamina, which is the campaign of the party. But if you have divisions within the ANC, whether it is Gauteng, whether it is the Eastern Cape, whether it is KwaZulu-Natal or Free State or even Limpopo for that matter, it will be very difficult to get everyone on board to campaign, do the door-to-door campaign and do all the groundwork to ensure that the ANC does secure this victory. 60% is quite a lot, but as Nicholas has said, that this is indeed just a prediction and only about 3,000 people who have been polled.
Absolutely. If you look at Gauteng, the ANC, they're heading into a conference this weekend. David Makura speaking today. Did he have any response to this? What are his feelings?
played it quite safe. He said that the party does take note of these polls, but the party is not overly excited because they still need to do all the groundwork. But very important for the party is how does the ANC, especially in Gauteng, convince the electorate that this is the party to vote for, considering what happened during the 2016 local government elections, where the ANC lost 2 metros and just kept one via a coalition.
I cannot let you go without a quick talk about the DA, because actually if you compare how they did in the 2014 elections, they got about 22%. In this poll it suggests 13%. That's a huge drop. Would you attribute that to the De Lille dramas?
Well, the parties, according to the poll results, they say this is because of internal squabbles that the party has been facing. And very important, something that I've raised or spoken to Mmusi Maimane as well, the leader of the party, he said that all these things that happen inside the party, of course, when these things go public, they do have an impact on the image of the party and brand DA. So certainly those are the type of things that do have an impact on how the electorate see the DA and whether they can trust the DA.
Very interesting. Thank you so much for your input there, Aldrin Sampier, our reporter, discussing the Ipsos poll results. Well, in other news now, the National Prosecuting Authority is to decide on whether to pursue assault charges involving high-profile couple, media owner Given Mkhari and his businesswoman wife, Ipheleng Mkhari. Now, on Saturday, the couple opened assault cases against each other, but withdrew them this morning. Erin Bates has the story.
Businesswoman Ipheleng Mkhari and media mogul Given Mkhari may not have kissed and made up, but they've withdrawn charges of assault against one another today. Both appeared twice briefly in the Randburg Magistrates Court, and the cases have been temporarily withdrawn. Following an incident on Saturday, the couple opened cases against one another. Radio station Power FM publishes a statement on its website, repeated on air. It asserts Given Mkhari will not be appearing in court. Within minutes of one another, they post the same statement on social media. Half an hour later, the NPA's Gauteng spokesperson speaks to ENCA.
A decision to prosecute or not to prosecute is a prerogative of a prosecutor. So even when a complainant is willing to withdraw charges, but if the prosecutor is convinced that it is in the interest of justice that the matter proceed, that is exactly what happens.
A little later, the couple appear side by side for their second court appearance. A magistrate provisionally withdraws the matter. Next, they attend a meeting their attorneys describe as amicable. The couple depart. They are side by side as they leave.
There was an incident, a domestic incident. After what happened on Saturday, they sat and they spoke about it and they decided to deal with the matters differently.
My client feels that it's a family matter. They're resolving it themselves. They don't feel that they need the intervention of the court to do that.
Once the police have concluded investigations, the matter will revert to the NPA. Erin Bates, Johannesburg.
Erin joins me in studio now. Now, you were at court. You saw Given and Ipheleng Mkhari in court. How did they seem?
It was difficult to get an eye shot of them. I was standing or sitting in a bench behind where they were standing, but certainly seeing them walk out of court, they were side by side, as I've reflected in my report, but not particularly close to one another, and both quite sort of reserved, you could say, as they were leaving court, clearly aware that there were journalists around and that we were eager to get comment. In fact, I'd asked Given Mkhari, whose eye I caught as they were leaving after the second appearance, would he speak on camera? He said, no, this is a private matter. Please refer to our statement in the public domain.
It's a private matter that's gone very, very public, and it's something that everyone is talking about. Lisa Vetten, who's a researcher, said on our sister channel that you do get relationships, because of course they both laid charges against each other and now withdrawing them and wanting to, that you do have relationships where you have what she calls mutual combat. But of course that's probably more the exception than the norm.
And it is very difficult in this case to know exactly what happened. Certainly there was an incident on Saturday that precipitated both of them laying charges against one another. Given Mkhari laying charges of assault with intent to do grievous bodily harm, Ipheleng or Pele Mkhari laying charges of common assault. So until that information is before the court and we have access to it as the press, very difficult to say what has happened, but does suggest some kind of incident in which both parties were involved and are accused of assault.
Interesting, both lawyers, same message, a family matter, a domestic matter, but actually it's up to the NPA. What's next?
So now the police are busy investigating and they will then hand that docket to the NPA. You've spoken there about the common message of lawyers. Also worth noting, they both tweeted the same statement within minutes of each other this morning at 11. And I know, as they've said and their lawyers have said, this is a private matter, but what does that say about South African society, that we cannot tackle and we cannot address issues of domestic altercations and violence publicly?
Thank you very much. That is Erin Bates reporting on that story. Still ahead on E! News, another fuel hike on the cards, the AA says, and outside Parliament this evening, a protest against the 15% VAT rate. Police Minister Bheki Cele has fired a verbal warning shot at criminals. An attack on the police is an attack on the state, he says. Now, he was speaking after 4 suspected police killers appeared in the Germiston Magistrates Court. They're charged with murder, illegal possession of firearms and ammunition. They remain behind bars while investigations continue. Slindelo Masikani has the story.
37-year-old Constable Mutalentwa Matlatsi was shot and killed in Elsburg last week. A multidisciplinary team from Gauteng conducted an intelligence-driven operation in Gauteng and Mpumalanga. Within 48 hours, 3 suspects were arrested, 2 vehicles, 2 firearms and ammunition recovered. Police linked one of the suspects to the murder of another police officer, 36-year-old Constable Bafana Happy Hlongwane, who was killed in April. Police Minister Bheki Cele says he came to court in order to see the faces that robbed the families of the slain police officers of their breadwinners.
I don't know what has got in their heads for them to behave like this, but it's a question of us, the police, South African police, will have to work hard to reverse this kind of sketch of people that they make it their job to kill other people. We will, if asked, to make sure that those that kill the police, they really get a special kind of trial, a special kind of treatment, and say to them, you are not going to attack the state and go and sleep at home.
Cele says police are also working around the clock to find those responsible for the latest spate of cash and transit heists and those behind a number of explosive devices found in Durban. Minister Cele has strongly condemned the senseless killings of the men and women in blue, describing them as a national asset that should be protected by all. Slindelo Masikani, Germiston in Ekurhuleni.
Well, South Africans can expect another petrol price hike next month. The Automobile Association is warning of a 19 cents a litre increase for petrol come August. This is based on current data from the Central Energy Fund. The increase in value-added tax has also hit consumers hard this year. Well, this evening, COSATU is protesting against the increase outside Parliament. Artie Nasi was there a little earlier.
A small number of COSATU members staged a night vigil outside the doorsteps of Parliament, demanding that the increase in VAT be scrapped totally. They say that the burden has become too great on workers and that they simply cannot wait for the Parliamentary Review Committee, which is currently looking at zero-rated items. COSATU is also calling on a decrease in the electricity price as well as water and fuel price, which is having a rippling effect on the cost of food for consumers. A member from SAPS was here to collect the memorandum, and COSATU says that it is a sign that the demands are not being taken seriously. Artie Nasi, Parliament.
Let's recap your top stories. A survey by research company Ipsos shows 6 out of 10 people polled will support the ANC in next year's general election. Domestic abuse in the spotlight as Power FM's Given Mkhari and his wife appear in court on assault charges. Those charges later withdrawn. Well, we got your weather coming up next, and then Barack Obama will be delivering this year's Nelson Mandela Lecture. We'll find out which books have inspired the former US president.
Good evening and welcome to the Weather Center. We're going to start off Tuesday with quite a lot of cloud, giving us light rain and drizzle over eastern Limpopo and Mpumalanga and the easternmost parts of KwaZulu-Natal. At the same time, isolated rain and thunderstorms are expected to start early in the morning over parts of the northern and western Cape provinces. Then in the afternoon, it's going to be mostly sunny for much of the northwest, Free State and southeastern South Africa. And late on Tuesday night, we could see some of the showers spilling into the southwestern parts of the country. Now we are going to see partly cloudy to cloudy skies across the northern Cape on Tuesday, giving us isolated rain and thunderstorms in places. It's going to be cool to mild for the province. Upington making it to around 23 degrees in the afternoon. Similar weather can be expected for much of the western Cape. However, Cape Town will be partly cloudy and dry for much of the day with a small chance of showers late in the evening, and a high of 23 is forecast for the mother city, the same for Hermanus and also around Langaban. We are going to see partly cloudy skies over the southwestern areas of the eastern Cape with mild afternoon temperatures, mostly sunny and cooler for the northeastern parts of the province. Mostly clear skies are also forecast for much of KwaZulu-Natal, partly cloudy however for Richards Bay and Ulundi, both with highs in the lower 20s. It's going to be mostly sunny but rather chilly across the Mpumalanga Highveld. Cold as well from Bombela with mostly cloudy skies. Light rain can be expected around Skukuza. We are also going to see a bit of rain over the eastern areas of the Limpopo province. However, it will be dry for Polokwane with a chilly 15 for the top temperature. Mostly sunny skies are forecast across the northwest, where highs in the upper teens are forecast in most areas. We are going to have a cold start to the day across the Free State, and it's going to be sunny and cool to mild in the afternoon across much of the province. Gauteng could see a bit of cloud overhead on Tuesday afternoon with a high of 17 forecast for Pretoria. Now on Wednesday, we should see quite a bit of cloud, giving us rain showers over parts of western South Africa. It will be mostly sunny for the eastern areas. Then on Thursday, lots of sunshine can be expected for the eastern half of the country. Light rain is possible around George.
Finally, former US President Barack Obama is coming to South Africa. Tomorrow, he'll deliver the 16th annual Nelson Mandela Lecture, this in honor of Madiba's centenary. Of course, Madiba would have been 100 on Wednesday. Obama's in Kenya ahead of the visit tomorrow. He's in Nairobi for a 5th time as a private citizen. Ahead of his trip, he suggested a few great reads by African authors.
Number 1 on his list, Things Fall Apart by Nigerian author Chinua Achebe. You can call this one a masterpiece that has inspired generations of writers across Africa and around the world. Kenyan Ngugi wa Thiong'o's A Grain of Wheat, which chronicles events leading up to Kenya's independence. Madiba's Long Walk to Freedom, a memoir of one of the 20th century's most influential people. Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who's also Nigerian. Obama describes her as one of the great contemporary writers. This book raises universal questions of race and belonging for diaspora Africans. The Return by American-born British Libyan Hisham Mata. This memoir of a young boy touches on the rule of former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. Obama describes the book as one of the smartest reflections he's read on foreign policy. And last but not least is The World as It Is by Ben Rhodes. It's true, Rhodes does not have African blood running through his veins, but Obama says few others so closely see the world through his eyes like Rhodes can. Ben's one of the few who've been with me since the first presidential campaign, he says. Get yourself a copy and happy reading.
Let's recap your top stories.
Covering to a certain extent, because last year this time when we released the same type of data, the ANC was at 45% of the vote.
Survey by research company Ipsos shows 6 out of 10 people polled will support the ANC in next year's general election. Domestic abuse in the spotlight as Power FM's Given Mkari and his wife appear in court on assault charges, those charges later withdrawn. From me and the team, it's a very good night.